Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're tackling something everyone knows, suffering. It's part of life program.
Absolutely universal. But the angle we're taking today might be a bit surprising.
Yeah, what if we've sort of got it wrong? What if suffering isn't just this weight we carry?
Exactly. What if it could actually be a catalyst? Something for growth? Maybe even finding purpose? Could it actually change how we relate to pain?
That's the fascinating idea we're digging into. And we're drawing from some really strong sources here.
We are. There's a great conversation Dr. Caroline Fleck had with Lewis Howes on the School of Greatness. There's an article summarizing it.
Right, and also key insights from her book, Validation, which sounds pretty central to this whole discussion.
It really is. So our mission, if you will, for you listening, is to unpack all this.
We want to pull out the practical stuff, the deeper philosophical points from Dr. Fleck's work.
Helping you see how maybe validation and self-awareness and this idea of service, how they connect.
And how they might help turn that pain, that suffering, into actual fuel for transformation, for a meaningful life.
So let's dive in.
Okay, where do we start? What's the absolute core idea from Dr. Fleck?
Well, it really circles back to that central thesis. Suffering isn't just bad, it can be fuel.
Okay, fuel for transformation.
Yeah.
But you said there's a condition.
Yes, and it's a big one. It really hinges on learning how to validate ourselves and maybe even more importantly, how to validate others.
Right, so this idea of validation is key. It underpins everything else she talks about.
Absolutely. It sets the whole stage.
Okay, so let's really get into validation then. Dr. Fleck makes this honestly kind of chilling point, that the root of most psychological pain, most suffering, isn't just, bad thoughts. It's invalidation.
Yeah, think about that. When you feel unseen or misunderstood or just dismissed.
That feeling is profound. And she argues it can directly lead to things like anxiety, depression.
And even, tragically, suicidal thoughts. It's a deep wound, that feeling of not mattering, of not being heard.
But then the flip side, feeling validated, truly understood, accepted, that has immense power. Right.
Huge healing power. And you see the lack of it having real-world consequences.
Like the example given in the sources about LGBTQ plus individuals.
Exactly. They face significantly higher rates of suicide, of self-harm, and Dr. Fleck connects that directly back to societal invalidation.
It's a stark illustration of just how damaging invalidation can be.
It really is. And it leads to this distinction she makes, which I find incredibly useful.
Go on.
She says, and this is key, you don't have to agree with someone's behavior to validate their emotions.
Okay, unpack that, because that's tricky, isn't it? Our instinct is often to judge the behavior.
Right. We either agree or disagree with what someone did. But she's saying, put that aside for a moment.
Just acknowledge the feeling underneath, even if the action itself is problematic.
Precisely. Acknowledge the pain, the anger, the fear, whatever the emotion is. That validation of the feeling itself is powerful, separate from judging the action.
That requires a lot of restraint.
And
empathy.
It does, and it connects to something really deep about love and connection. In her book, Validation, she says something profound.
What's that?
Validation is the pathway to love. Without feeling seen and accepted, love is shallow or untrue.
Wow. So real love needs that foundation of acceptance, of being truly seen.
That's what she argues. It's not just affection, it's that deep recognition of someone's inner reality.
And this isn't just academic for her, is it? Dr. Fleck's own life.
Yeah.
It's a testament to these ideas.
Oh, absolutely. She shares her story with incredible vulnerability. She's faced breast cancer.
Right. And a really long, tough battle with depression, like a decade long.
Yes, including undergoing ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, something she was initially very scared of.
But found it helpful in the end.
She did. And what's remarkable is even during chemo, she kept working, kept seeing her clients.
Why? What drove that?
Purpose. She found that being of service, helping others, grounded her. It gave her something outside of her own intense struggle.
That connects to her idea about suffering as energy, doesn't it?
Exactly. She has this powerful metaphor. Suffering is energy, and energy needs to go somewhere.
So if you don't channel it outwards, into action, into service,
then it turns inward. It consumes you. She puts it very directly. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. If you don't use suffering as fuel, it will eat you up.
That's quite a statement. It really puts the onus on us to do something with our pain.
It's about taking agency, even in the midst of suffering, which leads to another really important point. How we help others who are suffering. There's a big difference between genuinely helping and trying to well, save someone.
Ah, yes, the
Right.
savior complex. That can backfire, can't it?
It really can. Trying too hard to fix or save someone can create codependency, or sometimes it even enables the very behavior that's causing the problem.
Dr. Fleck has that blunt reminder, you are not God.
Right. You can't force change. People only truly change when they decide they want to, when they believe it's possible.
So often the best thing we can do is just validate their pain
Mm.
without jumping to solutions.
Often, yes. Just being present, acknowledging their struggle without trying to fix it immediately. That can be incredibly healing in itself.
There was a practical example given for this, wasn't there? About therapy,
Yes. Instead of, dragging someone resistant to therapy.
which usually doesn't work anyway.
Right. Suggesting something like, will you come with me? For me, it changes the dynamic.
Makes it about connection, about support, not about fixing them. That's subtle but smart.
It is. And speaking of internal states, she also really stresses mental health tools, particularly self-awareness.
Like meditation and mindfulness. She found those helpful personally.
Hugely helpful. She talks about how they helped her create distance from her own destructive thought patterns.
So instead of being swept away by those painful mental loops,
She could sort of observe them,
Yeah.
manage them, see them as, well, not her.
that idea that thoughts are not you, they're just events in your mind. That's powerful.
Incredibly liberating, she found. Meditation helped her separate her core identity from those fleeting, often painful thoughts and emotions.
And that builds resilience.
That's the idea. She sums it up. Self-awareness is the first step. Meditation made space between me and my thoughts. Creating that space is crucial.
Okay, so self-awareness is step one. What else helps transform suffering?
Well, building on that, both she and Lewis Howes really emphasize service, being of service to others.
As an antidote to their own pain.
Exactly. They both found it incredibly powerful, a way to move beyond their own inner turmoil.
And it doesn't have to be huge things, right? You mentioned the kittens earlier.
Right. Dr. Fleck fostering kittens during chemo, a small, focused act of caring, it grounded her.
And Lewis Howes, he used his platform.
Yeah, sharing his own story, his own trauma around sexual abuse very openly. And that act of service, of sharing, helps so many others feel less alone, seen.
So the takeaway is pretty direct then.
It is. There's a quote reflecting both their experiences. If you are suffering, the most powerful thing you can do is to find something else to care for.
Anything else?
A plant, a cat, a person, anything. Just redirecting that focus outward.
Okay, this next idea feels like a really big shift in perspective. The idea that trauma can become a superpower.
Yeah, it's a radical reframe, isn't it? Not just a burden, but potentially a source of unique strength.
How so? Strength in what way?
Credibility, for one. Deep empathy. The ability to connect with others who've been through similar things on a profound level.
Dr. Fleck uses her own experiences in therapy.
She does. She says sharing parts of her own story with patients can be a real turning point. It builds trust, deepens the connection almost instantly.
And Lewis Howes found the same. Opening up about his past changed everything for him.
Completely. It transformed his life and, importantly, provided hope and a sense of community for countless others.
It really underlines that quote you mentioned. Your suffering is a gift. Don't squander it.
Don't squander it. Don't hide it away necessarily. See it as a potential source of power for yourself and others.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Let's pull out some really practical tools people can use, like today.
Absolutely. One really simple but powerful tool when someone comes to you in pain. Ask them, do you want validation or problem solving?
Just clarifying what they actually need in that moment.
Yeah.
Because we often jump to problem solving, right?
We do. And the advice is validate first. Always. Make sure they feel heard, understood.
Then, if they want advice, and only if they welcome it, you can offer suggestions.
Exactly. Sequence matters. Also about service. Manage expectations.
Meaning?
Don't expect to feel instantly better yourself just because you're helping someone. It's not transactional like that. It's a deeper process.
Good point. And boundaries are important too, even when helping.
Crucial. You can be compassionate and still protect your own energy. Like, I can listen, but I can't take calls after 11 p.m. or whatever your boundary is.
Right. And one last predictor of healing.
This was highlighted as maybe the most critical factor. Are you willing to try new things, new behaviors?
Your openness to change.
That receptiveness, that willingness is seen as the #1 predictor of actually healing and moving forward.
Okay. So wrapping this up, this deep dive really offered a different way to look at suffering.
Yeah, it's not just something to get through. It can actually lead to meaning. Service becomes almost sacred. and validation. It's like a lifeline.
It feels like Dr. Fleck's work brings together modern psychology with some really timeless truths about being human, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a blend of clinical insight and deep wisdom about connection and purpose. It's more than just coping mechanisms. It's a whole way of seeing the world.
So the final thought to leave everyone with, maybe think about Dr. Fleck's own story. Everything she went through, trauma, depression, MS, cancer.
And how that journey became a roadmap, not just for her, but potentially for others.
Right. So consider how these ideas we've discussed about validation, about turning suffering into service, how they might help you.
How they might help transform any of that invisible pain we all carry into something visible, something purposeful.
And remembering that final quote from Dr. Fleck, it really sticks with you.
Which one?
Validation is the foundation of connection, more essential even than love. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does.